there's a period of time after a movie, if it's gripping, where there's a moment you have to take to transition from the world you were just in back to the real one. Sinister doesn't let you do that, at least not right away. You don't forget a movie like this. And that's what makes Sinister so remarkable. The darkness you're enveloped in is unreal, but you're convinced it is real. And you're glad when it's over because you come back to your senses and you know what you were just experiencing isn't real. It's actually a relief. It's a release of sorts. But you're still not the same as you were prior. It's like you're worse off knowing this kind of darkness exists, even if it's only in the mind of the great Scott Derrickson. And that's why I love this movie, though. That's why I love Sinister. It's relentless and captivating, and it absorbs your entire being while you're watching. It literally pulls you from your world into the frame, into the film. So in the opening scene of this incredible movie, one of my favorite movies ever, there's this beautiful grainy Super 8 footage. And it's of a family with hoods over their heads standing beneath a giant tree. They each have a little accessory that makes this more of an unsettling shot than one of just a family film. It's a noose around each of their necks. Something that can't be seen cuts through a tree limb that was acting as a counterweight. Then family slowly rises as the ropes are pulled by the raising of the branch. They kick, flail, but ultimately meet their demise. And that opens up this film, truly setting the tone from the jump. So we're dropped in then on the Oswalt family. They're moving to a new home for work for the dad. We quickly find out he's a struggling true crime author. Ellison Oswalt, played by the great Ethan Hawke. Huge fan. As the audience, you kind of find out right away that this house is kind of the one the family you saw in the Super 8 film, the opening, was murdered in. Does Ellison's family know that? No. He keeps that close to the chest for as long as he can. Some odd things start going on. Really odd vibe, captured by some beautiful long hallway shots by Scott Derrickson. Written also, his writing partner Cargill. They're an amazing duo. But things are off. So then we're hit with this scene where his son, come to find out from true life experiences, or bless his heart, Scott Derrickson's son, has night terrors. Okay, he's sent home from school even when he creates an unsettling environment for other students by describing said night terror. Come to find out, when he says the scene to mom, it's the exact murder that the new book is going to be centered around. Comes out when backed in a corner. Oh yeah, sorry wife, we're in the house, when he denied it earlier in the film. So that's not great, but does show you and kind of set the tone for the dichotomy of the struggle of husband and really going after that big fish. He hasn't had a hit in a decade with a book, and he misses it. You see that. So we'll go forward a little bit, and they're setting up in the new home and everything. It's one night he stays up late, and he's walking through the house. He hears something and whatever. There's an attic. Finds his way up to the attic, and then this horrific scene. Shirtless, reverse crab walk position son burst out of a box, screaming, dead in the eyes because he's asleep. It's a night terror. Literal description of one in Scott Derrickson and his son's life. No joke. Bless his heart. I can't even say it without saying that. So that kind of sets the tone right there in the first act. Oh, okay, me coming here thinking I can just pursue the white whale is coming at a cost. So then we have we'll move on to a random day of meandering around the house. He's setting up his office. Ellison finds himself in the attic. I believe in this one, it's at night, and he was following kind of an odd sound. Sounded like what maybe a squirrel would sound like, kind of scattering up above, right? And then he happens upon a cardboard box full of Super 8 films. Looks like home movies and a projector that plays them, that plays the reels. Labeled normal enough, seems normal enough, but this is when the true horror of this film begins. there is he takes these downstairs and begins to watch them. Who wouldn't? These Super 8 films are full of brutal murders. Creatively done, mind you, but nonetheless dark. They're terrible. Real creative way of found footage film when that was really hot around when this was shot. And Jason Blum is a producer on this film. But I thought it was cool because Derrickson's too big a fan of true cinema, and part of the movie experience is the beautiful shots and all that comes with that sound design and everything. So he said, I was doing some research, he would never make a true found footage film, but he kind of found a way to use it within this larger film. And I love that. But they are captivatingly horrific. And you would think, okay, well, maybe let's take those to the cops. But he considers it, even has the number dialed. But he has a tumultuous, Ellison, Ethan Hawke's character, has a tumultuous relationship with the police. They don't want him there. We're shown that in the movie pretty early on, minus this one really friendly deputy. So, you know, he's like, I need this. Let me bust this case, right? So here it is, a seemingly Super 8 films of a serial killer. So he watches them. And I'll let you watch them for yourself. You probably did a decade ago. Do it again. I'll let you experience that. But there's this drowning one in particular we'll focus in on. Bothersome. And I like this. I like what happens with this one because Ethan Hawke is looking at it on his laptop and he turns away, right? And at first I was mad at this scene. I thought it was kitschy. I thought it was heavy-handed and like, you know what I mean? Lazy maybe. I wouldn't say lazy. My goodness. What do I know? But it's not. It's beautiful. It was thinking ahead and it sets up a theme that comes back throughout the course of the movie in a big way, actually. So there's this scene, he looks at the drowning one, and you see, in that one, you see a reflection of this figure, this obvious, not from our world demonic entity, this face. You'll never forget this face. It's Bagul, we come to find out. Adjacent to some pieces in Christian mythology, but in the movie, it's Christian mythology. But Ethan's looking through the, he's looking on his laptop, and he turns, doing something, and all of a sudden the face of Bagul goes, breaking whatever fourth wall you thought protected you. You almost feel like it's looking directly into your soul. So we see what we thought was just something on a screen shatter what we know about physics, and takes us from thinking we're safe in the natural world, and this naturalistic, to the supernatural. And that was actually an incredible set piece. Sets up everything. Loved it. So it's kind of like this demonic superpower, if you will, that is flexed in that scene. And one fateful night, go for a little bit, Ellison hears a film projector running on its own. He finds himself going up to the attic. I think it was following a sound. A lot of those. And then there he sees missing children. Now, let me set this up for a bit, okay? You're thinking, what? What on earth? Well, one cornerstone to each of the videos that he finds out later, I'm trying to tread carefully here because I don't want to give away too much. There's a kid missing from each of those murders. Comes to find out through research with the deputy help and a professor I'll talk about, played by the amazing Vincent D'Onofrio. Vincent D'Onofrio. I have no idea what I just said that first time, but he's awesome. If you've ever seen him in anything, you already know. He plays Professor Jonah. So one of the commonalities we'll get into actually before that one fateful night is these Super 8 home movies are brutal murders, right? After brutal murder, each one. Each unique, spanning across decades even, in a unique location. They're not at the same place. And there's a figure in it. And then that figure is actually when Ethan Hawke's character reaches out to Vincent D'Onofrio's, we realize is a symbol of a pagan deity, Bagul, Christian mythology in this film. And he finds out from the professor that this demon would take and murder entire families just so he could take their children into his realm and then consume their souls. Light stuff. So, this plays out in all of them. Ethan starts to see the figure in all the movies, the symbol, Even on the cardboard box. That's my wife's getting home from work. Even on the cardboard box, there's that symbol. Looks kind of like the Mandalorian symbol. So then, I'll catch us back up. So one fateful night, Ellison hears the film projector running. Finds himself in the attic. And there he comes up the stairs, the missing children, all in these decaying, dead-like states, but right there in the room with him, and they're watching a film. If that's not enough, Bagul, Mr. Boogie himself, appears on the screen and then appears in front of Ellison in the real world. Like, boom! Terrifying. Just terrifying. He freaks out, then it's over. What does he do? What any sane person would do. Takes the films, the projectors, starts burning them in his backyard, wakes his family up, like, we're scooting. No thanks. Love that. Love that. Like, when you have a well-written character, the sensibilities come out. We're getting out of here. We're not, I love that he was able to get to that was written. He's like, all right, we're bouncing. We're getting out of here. And I want to tread carefully here, right? Carefully. Because the climax of this film, the third act even of this film, is one I want you to discover on your own. And even a bit too much intel could give it away. And the ending, even in the entire third act, is too special. Even a decade later, even if one viewer that watches this hasn't seen it, I don't want to ruin that. I want them to be able to experience this and have that like I have kept it all these years. Because that's how powerful this movie is. That's how amazing and haunting the third act is. So let's tread carefully here. And I don't want to rob a single viewer of that. So they bounce. Ellison takes his family, like any good dad, husband. They go to the old home. He then gets an email, right, from the professor, Jonas. And it scans the historical drawings associated with Bagul. And he elaborates on the ancient cultures that believed in Bagul. And they believed, we find out, this is incredible, ties up to earlier, as I was discussing, that those images and his logo, if you will, acted as a portal between his realm and the mortals' world, so our world. Ellison, this is when it hits the fan right here. Ellison, Ethan Hawke's character, then discovers the projector and films in his attic, along with a new envelope of film labeled Extended Endings. And it's unbearably hard to stop here. If I do a spoiler version, I could do an entire video on what comes next. But I'll conclude. Go watch Sinister. This is a movie of supreme quality. The story, acting, sound design, the score, writing, every bit of it. And it just so happens to be horror. From the long hallway shots and your eyes scanning every bit of the darkness and frame to the reckoning of evil, and Ethan so brilliantly showing the weight of all of it. Great, great performance. This is not exploitatively scary. Got through that word, didn't I? It's suffocatingly scary and unsettling. It exists, as Derrickson said, I was doing some research and some interviews, Sinister exists in like this spiritual vacuum. There's no light to be found. But there is tremendous moral focus. It's a film that's a deeper introspection into Derrickson's own life. I think it's an evaluation of his own moral thought, feelings, behavior. I think this is a story of a hellish picture. It's a story that will rattle you to your core. Allow it to do so. Be rattled. Be scared. Be afraid. Experience this. Make your own observations. But I do recommend this movie. It's well done. This is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. Period. It's streaming on Netflix right now. And it's one of my favorite films to date, period. Cargill and Derrickson are a must-see duo. And they end up giving us Doctor Strange after this, which was probably my favorite MCU movie. I just hope they get a hankering for horror again, because I'll be first in line. Go watch Sinister. Let it wreck you. It's me from the future. AKA I forgot to put a call to action at the end. First video. Forgive me. But I was nervous with this one. Sinister is one of my favorite films of all time. I wanted to do it justice to make it my first. It's bold, but I love this movie streaming right now on Netflix. I wanted to know if you could comment down below with your favorite Sinister scene. Another horror recommendation currently available to stream. That way we can all kind of, enjoy movies while we're stuck at home. And I would like to give this the full Monty popcorn bucket, 2 large drink, candy for the wifey recommendation. That's my system. Sinister gets it all. Enjoy, boys.